Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I am Adam Williams.
And I'm Ashley Muckenhop.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain a rational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams. Oh my God, let's get into this one. I am so fired up today. I am so fired up today.
So much energy, so much enthusiasm.
Listen, if you don't have a notebook in front of you right now, you want to go grab one. I'll give you a minute. You're going to want to go back and listen to this episode. I am bringing the heat today. Yeah. Ashley is so nervous. If you're watching this on camera, like from the moment I walked in the door, even Joel's a little nervous. He's got his hand on the mute button or the bleep button if I drop some swear words. I am so fired up. Do you want to know why?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I know it's a good topic.
It's a great topic. Yeah. And then I found a way to put my spin on it, which I'm super pumped about. And I told you that you were going to carry the show today.
I don't feel like that's happening.
That was a mere 14 hours ago.
Yes.
And now I'm gonna hijack it, but it's gonna be so good. But do you want to know why?
Yes.
What's my phrase of the year?
Oh, well, now it's don't tell me something. Extreme effort or maximum effort. Maximum effort. Yes.
Maximum effort.
Yep.
And
now it's on all of your messages. Your like the Ring Central.
I set it as my status in Ring Central so everybody in the office can see it. But I need to see it too. So every message I send, it shows up as my little away message on Ring Central in our office.
I watched Deadpool over the weekend, and that like comes up, and I'm like, there it is.
It's all right. So that's where it comes from, the Deadpool movie.
Yep.
And sure, those movies are so graphic and so funny. And I love Ryan Reynolds, and it's so funny because the Deadpool versus Wolverine movie that came out, he references some other movies that he did, and they break the third wall. It's so funny. But anyway, there's scenes in each of those movies where he's getting ready for the thing that he's going to do. He's a superhero, right? He's basically indestructible, and he just goes maximum effort and jumps in whatever he's going to do and like completely dominate. But he doesn't say it with enthusiasm. He doesn't say it with excitement. It's more of like, all right, this is how I'm going to pump myself up.
Yeah.
So I have since January 1st been using that phrase in everything that I'm doing, and I realized, you know what I realized? I wasn't doing it for this show. Like I can sit in this studio and I can bring the heat, but as far as like the preparation and getting ready, I was putting in effort.
Yeah.
It was not maximum effort. And we got it today. And if you don't have a notebook, you're gonna want to bookmark this. In fact, if you're listening on social media now, share the show, because it'll pop up in your feed and you'll get reminders, and it'll pop up in your memories a year from now, and you're going to want to go back and listen to this because I have such an awesome lesson for today.
Good. I'm ready.
So tell us what you thought the topic was going to be before I came in with this much excitement.
Well, the topic was throw away your oars. It's sink or swim, making decisions and adapting to change. But I know you're going to put a spin on that.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so where do you even... All right, let's start with our typical intro.
Yeah.
Let's take a breath.
Yes.
And for the people that listen to the show consistently, they know what we're about to say, but we gotta say it for all of our new listeners because our audience is growing every week. So go get your notebook. What is it show 46?
Show 46.
Feels
4
good.
more to the big 50.
Did we plan a celebration for that?
You said cake.
I know I said cake. Did we actually plan anything, or is that just a dream?
No, we need to.
So we're streaming live on Facebook, Maverick Mindset Radio, blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, this Wednesday in particular, blowing your minds. Going live at 9:05. We are on Spotify, YouTube, the iTunes podcast, Apple podcast thing. So go and like and subscribe there. And then, of course, MaverickMindsetRadio.com, where we've always got updates coming out. And, of course, some great merch, including notebooks, which you can get for 10% off by using the code Maverick10. All right, quote of the day. Let's hear it.
All right.
Oh, this is a good quote.
Yes.
You did well with it.
Thank
I wish
you.
I had looked at this in advance because it aligns with what I'm going to talk about.
All right. So, quote of the day is, success in business comes from bold decisions, adapting to change, and trusting yourself to navigate uncharted waters. I like this quote, and I chose this quote because, and I'm not a business owner, but I do think that successful businesses don't get to where they're at by playing it safe. The hard decisions have to be made. And I think that I lost my train of thought. But I think that trusting your intuition to make those decisions or navigate the changes is difficult, and a lot of people I don't think do that.
No. So where do you want to start with this topic? Like, how do you want to lay the foundation here before we really?
Well,
jump into
you
things?
asked me when first did this topic. You had sent me a message. You're like, I want to understand.
What does that even mean?
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean to throw away your oars?
Yep.
So let's start there.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's very simple. It's letting go of what is not working for you anymore. It's trusting, like I said, your intuition to make the difficult decisions, and to not let fear get in the way to adapting to changes or embracing them.
Yeah. And I think, like any analogy, it's completely inadequate.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in a boat and I got oars and I just throw them away. Well, how am I going to move? Right.
Right.
Well, I think the idea is, I don't know, get some better oars or bigger oars or get more people rowing or throw a motor on the boat. Or in our case, which we've seen a lot over the last several months, get rid of the anchors that are holding you back. Mm-hmm. We've seen plenty of that. So here's what I want to talk about with this. Here's what I outlined.
Okay.
There are 3 steps to changing your path of success. Okay. So you can either swim or paddle up the river against the current, or you can learn to use the flow of the river to your advantage. Oh. And not to undersell it, but we're going to change lives today because I'm going to tell you the 3 steps to make you become a more successful person. Now, what I didn't say is I'm going to show you how to have success.
Right.
We're going deeper than that. I am going to show you how to adjust who you are so that you become a more successful person. Yeah. So here we are today, February 19th, new year, new me. Yeah. I'm going to make you a more successful person. You ready for this?
Changing lives.
Yeah. But here's the thing. This can be scary.
Yeah.
Because I just told you I'm going to change your life. And you know I'm going to deliver on that promise. That's my favorite part of this.
Yeah.
There's people out there that are like, all right, yeah, okay. Talking a big game. No. Buckle up. We got 48 more minutes of this. 3 steps. These are not major changes. No. I'm not telling you to go out and disrupt everything in your life. This is going to be an instance of little hinges swing big doors. Little incremental changes, little adjustments to the habits that you've already developed over time are going to put you on this path, and we're going to teach you how to build new habits. Okay. Let's
do it.
All right. So these are not major changes. We're not going to disrupt everything. Here are the 3 steps, and then I'm going to go into depth in each of them. First, focus. What are you focusing on? Second, meaning. What is the meaning that you're giving the things that you're focusing on? Oh. And third, deciding what to do and then going and doing it. Okay? So what are you focused on? What's the meaning that you're giving it? And then what are you going to do about it? That's it. If we can improve those 3 things, you are flowing with the flow of the river on the path to success and not swimming upstream and not being held back and not getting stuck on the shore or falling over a waterfall or crashing into rocks. Okay? That was a great analogy.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so let's talk about focus. This is going to be the hardest one for a lot of people. Yeah. Because what you focus on is your reality.
That's so true.
I know.
It's so true.
Bro, we are just getting started. Yeah. What you focus on is your reality.
I feel like I'm going to be in therapy today.
Yeah. I should be charging for this shit. Yeah. And here's the thing. People get focused on the wrong things, big and little, right? Yeah. Right now, people are losing their minds over President Trump and Elon and Doge. But here's the reality. For most of us, there's exceptions, chill out, but for most of us, there is no direct impact on you, your life, your family, or your business. Yeah. You're focused on the wrong thing. So if you think what they're doing is bad, you're giving it meaning, and you're going to continue to see all these bad and horrible things. And this is a really great instance of people focusing on things that are, this is beyond your control. This is completely beyond your control. So we need to decide whether your focus is external or internal, right? And so many people focus on external things. And what does that make you? If I'm focusing on external things that are beyond my control, what does that make me?
Crazy.
A victim. Yeah. I am a victim to those things, right?
It drives you crazy.
Yes.
And a victim, yes.
So I can't remember if we've talked about it on this show, but I know I've told this story and I have a new story. But it's like when you go in and when you were looking for your car, you like as you were shopping for Jeeps, you started to see them, right? And you'd send me pictures. Oh, look, I saw this one in the line at the school pickup or whatever.
Yeah,
So you're focused on that thing. It's in your subconscious. You tend to see more of it, right? So if you're focused on the negative and if you're focused on the things you can't control, you're going to see more of that stuff. That becomes your reality. Okay. So yesterday I drove home and I think just about every day that I go into the office, on my way home, I call my mom. Could be 9 o'clock at night, could be 5 o'clock in the evening. Yesterday was like 3:30. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm working very. I'm like, "No, I'm going home for another meeting." Anyway, I call my mom every day on my way home. Right? They're down in Florida, and it's if you need an action item from today's show, call your mothers if you still can.
Thanks, Adam.
So she was telling me a story. Yeah, she was telling me a story. So they're in Southern Florida right now, and my cousin went down to visit them, and he's an interesting cat, but he tells my mom he's really got this craving for pierogies and kielbasa.
Oh,
right?
that sounds good.
Yeah, but in Southern Florida, like, all right, weirdo. So they're like, all right, fine, we'll go find pierogies. So they find this, like, I don't know, Eastern European grocery store, and they go in, and there's no fresh pierogies there, but they got frozen ones, so they pick up a couple of them. And then they're looking, and they find another like smaller grocery store, and there's some pierogies there, and they look okay, but they're not the best, so they get some of those. So then they're like, all right, fine, we'll just go to Walmart. So they go to Walmart, find some more pierogies. They walk out of there, they got like 100 of them.
Oh my gosh.
They leave Walmart, and there's a food truck in the parking lot selling pierogies.
No,
right?
that is.
So like, all right, we got to go get pierogies, right?
Yep.
I mean, they're on a mission. They're on a hunt. They're focused on pierogies. Suddenly
odds?
they're seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're talking to the person at the food truck, and they're like, oh, this is so weird. We've been looking for pierogies everywhere, and we haven't got exactly what we're looking for, but we got these other things. And the guy goes, well, did you go to such and such grocery store? And like, yeah, that's the first place we stopped. And he goes, you shouldn't have gone there. Behind that building, there's a Polish grocery store that sells the best pierogies.
Of course.
So they drive back, and they get so now for the, you know, my mom and dad and my cousin and his wife in there, I think they have 2 kids. They've got like 300 pierogies, right? Now, if they weren't focused on it, if they weren't looking for it, they wouldn't have such an abundance of pierogies. But that's true. It's true for pierogies, as it's true for cars, as it's true for money, as it's true for opportunity.
So there's an abundance in the things that you want, are thinking about, and putting your energy toward.
Yeah. So if they were looking for plane crashes, if they were looking for homeless people, if they were looking for very sad, depressing situations, if they were looking for stray dogs, you think they would have seen them?
Yes.
Of course they would, because their focus becomes your focus becomes your reality. So bringing it back to a less fun story, you have a choice to focus on what you can control or what you can't control. And people tend to focus more on what they can't control. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for it.
I was going to say, why?
Well, because we can all get together and commiserate about how hard things are and how difficult things are and how my life is worse than your life. No, your life is worse than my life. And oh, we're all so unfortunate. And it's very easy to get into that. But it's very disempowering, of course. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I mean, again, as human beings, we talked about this, we have a negativity bias. It is a survival instinct.
Yeah.
But what I'm laying out now is not teaching you how to survive. It's teaching you how to thrive and be successful. So you have to change the focus on that. So, for example, do you focus more on what you have or what you're lacking?
Ooh, what I'm lacking.
Yep. Most people do.
Yep.
Are you, and here's what's really interesting, is you're of a certain age. Most people focus on what they're lacking, regardless of their level of success, right? Like until they change that focus, even when you are successful, you tend to focus on what you don't have, but the successful people are at least able to change that focus frequently enough on what they have and what they want and the opportunities, right? But here's what's really interesting. If you are 20 to 40 years old, right? You're planting seeds.
Okay.
You don't know anything.
No.
You have no real world experience. You haven't learned through the school of hard knocks. And frankly, if you're of that age, you haven't really seen as an adult, bad and difficult times.
Yeah.
It is, the last 20 years have been a period of immense growth in this company. It's been very easy to grow a business and scale a business because everything's working in your favor. Now, okay, so 17 years ago, we had the 2008 financial crisis, but if you're 20 years old, you were 3 then. You had no clue, right? That. Those of us who are early 40s, I was still in law school, right?
Yeah.
So like I was separated from it, and I didn't learn from it because I didn't really experience it, right? So that's where it gets really fun is you're 20 to 40, you're planting all those seeds. If you're doing it right, the majority of them will not sprout and grow. If you're doing it right.
You're talking about failing.
Yeah. It means you're taking chances. It means you're trying different things. It means you're experimenting. The problem is when the people between the ages of 40 and 60 are the most depressed.
Yeah.
Because they're not where they expected to be.
Yeah.
Are you feeling this?
I'm feeling it.
You're feeling this. People age 40 to 60 expected to be reaping more rewards.
Yeah.
They expected to be further along with their financial success. They expected their relationships to be better. They expected their spiritual and mental well-being to be farther along. But here's the hard truth. You are not where you expected to be because you didn't plant enough seeds early in life. And it's so much easier if you didn't take that action then to focus on the lack and what you don't have now. And it's because the seeds that they did plant, the things that they did do, those seeds haven't turned into anything.
Yeah.
You feel like you don't have it all figured out yet because you haven't gone back and really analyzed and thought about the lessons that you could have taken from all those opportunities that turned into nothing, those things that you tried that didn't turn into anything. Instead, we avoid them. Instead, we spend our 20s to 40s doing the easy things, doing the safe things, like you said at the top of the show. Well, yeah, I mean, if I do what I know I'm capable of course I'm going to be disappointed. Because what I know I'm capable of is so far away from anywhere near my full potential. So you can play it safe and keep doing the easy stuff, but it's only going to lead to disappointment and frustration when you're older because you didn't take the shot, you didn't learn the lesson, and it's so much easier to focus on now what you don't have.
I think it's that mindset, especially like in your 20s, like it's you have the rest of your life to work, and you have the rest of your life to make something of yourself. So we waste that time during then to just, like I said, do the easy things or not care or not plant the seeds. Not because I think in the back of your mind, like, I have time. I can do this and I can get on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you think you have time. Maybe you think you have it all figured out, which I can assure you that you don't. Maybe you don't learn that lesson until later. I mean, I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago who was looking at getting her MBA and going to the University of Pittsburgh, which is where I got my MBA, and she was asking for my advice, and I said, well, take classes that are interesting to you because it's an MBA, right? Nobody really cares. And the other thing is, make connections with the people that are in your classes. Like, that's my one regret from grad school.
Yeah.
3.5 years of law school and college is like, I don't really keep in touch with any of those people. And they be really great connections now, right? Okay. So here's what's really interesting about that is I've been spending a lot of time thinking about how people learn things, right? We're bringing people into our business and they need to learn how we do business and how we serve our clients and what's important to us. And some people learn by reading, right? Yeah. I'm an avid reader. I can go and pick up a book and sit there with my highlighter and my pen and pick stuff out of it. Some people learn by listening or watching, right? So we do video recordings, we do video meetings, we do audio recordings where we walk through things. I just did it with Chrissy yesterday, where we were working on creating a video basically of how we send an email to our list, right? Like, what are the steps that you follow? So she got into it, and I said, listen, this needs to be a 60-second video. We gotta stop. We gotta start over. This should not be 5 minutes, right? This should be a quick and easy thing. Some people will watch, or some people will learn by watching that video and seeing the steps that she took. But you want to know the best way to learn? Doing. Yeah. That's it. Or at least attempting. Yeah. Right? I can read all the books in the world. I can watch all the videos. I can listen to all the podcasts. I can study all of the things, and I'll get better. Yeah. But until I actually go and do it, I'll always be leaving something on the table. I will never fully understand what it takes.
It's no secret. I hate math. It's not it's not anything I enjoy or ever did. But a few weeks ago, we were doing we had our all-day marketing meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the conference room, and you had, what was that movie we said? It was Beautiful Mind, with all of the things all over the so the entire room was covered with posters and writing and all of this, and you're going from one to the other, finding the numbers,
Connecting dots. Yep.
Yes.
Which, oh my God, just wait until step 3 because I'm going to break down how you do that. But anyway,
gosh.
go ahead.
But yeah, but I'm like, I knew like I couldn't be writing anything, and I couldn't, because you had said, now next month I need you to bring all of this to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there like, oh man.
Everything that I just spent 6 hours writing on tear off sheets of paper on the wall and whiteboards.
I got to figure it out.
You've got to learn how to present that to me next month.
So for me, I just had to watch it I couldn't have watched a video on it. It had to be in the moment, like how you were getting to those numbers, or how you were doing it, or what you were looking at. So yesterday I have the paper in front of me. I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm going from, and I'm
Can
like,
you say that a little bit louder?
I said, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, say it louder.
I can do this.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. And I didn't, I mean, in my mind, I was like, how am I going to get this number? And there's places I'm getting stuck, and I'm like, where did he do that? Or how did he do that? And I'm looking back at the pictures of the scribbles that we had taken to reference back to, and then trying, and I made mistakes, and that's not the right number, and and then I got it.
Yeah.
And then it was there, and then I was able to go through it, and then it was done. And I'm sure there's going to be mistakes. They're going to ask a question that I wasn't prepared for, but the fact of the matter is I filled that whole sheet out, and at the end of it, I was so proud of myself, because a month ago, I would not have been able to do that.
I got to find the thing that you sent me yesterday because I want to talk about that. I'm going to leave it up on my phone there. Okay, so that's actually a good point, because you'll notice when you and I meet, I spend plenty of time lecturing to you, right?
Yes.
Just like this radio show. I just keep talking and talking and talking, and you'll absorb some of it. But you'll notice I'm starting to ask you more and more questions.
Yes.
So when we met yesterday and you said, oh, I met with the marketing team and they said the ads are going really well. I said, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And you said, I don't know. I didn't ask. I said, well, how do you think we would measure how the ads are going well?
Yep.
And you laid it out. I said, well, leads and consults and conversions. Yes. My concern is our marketing team is basing it on clicks and impressions and metrics that don't feed my children, right? But you got that. You started to understand it only because I could have sat there and said, Ashley, here are the metrics that matter, and here's why they matter, and here are the ones that don't matter. But by asking you the question and forcing you to think through it and running the risk of you giving the wrong answer, you figured it out, and the lesson stuck a little bit better. So all right. So we're talking about focus. This is step 1 of 3 of becoming a successful person. We're talking about attempting things because it's the best way to learn things. But here's the problem. Here's why there's work required. Most of what we're taught about focus is based on habit. So I said we all have this negativity bias. It's this survival instinct, but we're getting beyond survival. We're getting closer to reaching your full potential. So let's talk about recognizing and breaking some habits, because this isn't an easy thing to do.
No.
Right? Like a lot of our habits, or we're going to talk about fear on this show. Babies are born with 2 fears: falling and loud noises. Literally every other fear is trained to us and becomes a habit. What does a baby have a fear of public speaking? No. 2-year-olds run around naked singing Taylor Swift, right? They're not afraid of what other people think, but they just get beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, and these fears and what other people are going to think, or failure or whatever gets ingrained
this could
in
happen
them.
if.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. Okay. So let's talk about 2 ways to break those habits.
Okay.
There's probably more than 2, but these are 2 good ones. These are the 2 that I really like. It's hard to recognize these habits, right? We see it on some of the comments to our videos where from the show where we're trying to teach a lesson, and people come in with their perceptions or their paradigms, not realizing that that's their perception or their paradigm, and there could be a different way to it. So, breaking habits. Number 1, this is what I was talking about before the show. Just start doing the opposite of everything that you do.
Oh boy.
My wallet is in my left pocket today. My phone is in my right pocket today. I've been doing things this morning using my left hand.
I said you're messing with your head.
Just to become a little more mindful of, like, you know what? I get in these habits. I get in these routines, And those habits and routines will keep you stuck. They will keep you exactly where you are right now. And I get that those are silly little things, but that's the point, right?
Yeah.
By breaking the little ones, you'll start to recognize the bigger ones, which I'm going to get into a good story about that later on. So that's one, is start acknowledging your habits and doing something different about it, right? Take a different route to work. Yeah.
Oh, I like
go
that.
go to a different restaurant than the one that you always go to.
Order something different than you always order at the restaurant you do go to.
Yeah, any of that stuff. For me, 75 hard for me has become a habit. So I just had a 100-day workout streak yesterday. 80 of those days I've been on 75 hard, which means I'm doing 2 a days for 80 of those 100 days. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been at this like plateau. I'm not losing any weight. Well, it's because I was doing the same types of workouts, and the diet was pretty consistent. So about a week ago, I disrupted it and said, all right, new workouts, going more intense. Emma Lovewell on Peloton did a 45-minute intervals and arms workout last night. I was looking for a garbage can to puke in, but that's the point. I needed to switch up that routine and that habit a little bit. So that's one, is recognize it and do something different, right?
Yeah.
If you're always doing the same types of marketing, if you're always using the same leadership techniques, if you're always doing things the way that you've always done them, you'll continue to get what you've always gotten. So that's one. The second thing is to work with a coach.
Yeah.
Because they recognize your habits. So I joined a new coaching group at the beginning of this year, and I'm familiar with some of the people in it. I'm familiar with the guy that runs it. We did a 2-day mastermind Thursday and Friday last week, and I was we've gotten into routines with our marketing. We're running ads. We change up the ads, but we're running ads, and we go through the same intake process and generally the same sales process, and it's the same offer, and it's worked because we doubled our business from quarter 3 to quarter 4 of 2024. So I went in and told them all that. Like, yeah, things are going really great, but it seems like we've hit a plateau, right? It seems like we're going to get stuck where we are. And so I'm on my hot seat and I present this, and basically everybody's like, well, then go do more of it. Duh, right? We did a webinar. It went really, really well.
Yes.
So we should be doing a webinar every single week, right? I didn't think about that. That would be a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
That would be really disruptive to my life. We found some ways to make it less work and to make it less disruptive. But it was like because I had a third party, they could look at what I was doing and see the obvious things that I don't see because it's my habit.
And you're in it and doing it.
The place that I put my shoes in my house when I get home every day may drive some people crazy, but it's just what I do.
Yeah.
Like my shoes always sit the same way. My left shoe is sitting there. My right shoe is behind it because I put it on the back of the left shoe to pop my foot out of it, and I leave the shoes there, right? But that's the habit, and that's what I'm starting. I focus on recognizing it. Yeah, exactly. So step 1 of becoming a successful person is think about what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
And understand that your focus is created from your habits. So become more mindful, become more intentional, and change those habits to change your focus. You will start to see more opportunity. You will start to see more good in the world. You will start to see more positive things. And we start
to see the things you missed.
And you've missed a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Because you start to realize that everything you want and everything that you need already exists out there in the world.
Yeah. David Nagel says that a lot too. And he constantly, I love David Nagel, by the way. So
we're going to get him on the show.
Yeah. Like he's always saying what you want is out there. Because a lot of people, even with money, he's like, it's there. It exists. You just are not seeing it.
You're not attracting it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So step 1 is your focus. Step 2 is giving things meaning. So you focus on things and you see them, and then you give them meaning. Yeah. You decide that they're good or bad, or that they're positive or negative. But the reality is the things are what they are, and you give them all of that meaning, right?
Yep.
So you are deciding consciously or subconsciously that something is good or bad. And the problem is the meaning that you give things is very emotional.
I really love what you all of that. If we could go that whole thing.
I blacked out. What did I say?
Well, sometimes when things are said, it kind of like hits you and you're like, oh crap. Like, right? Like things are what they are. Yep. There's no meaning to it until we give it that. Yep. And then like you said, it's basically from our subconscious of the things that we think we know and based on our emotions. Yep. And then we get, but to start looking at things just are what they are.
Yep.
There's no meaning to it until we give it that.
Which is what we do.
Yeah.
Usually subconsciously.
Yeah.
But that and the problem is, because the meanings are emotional, we tend not to make good decisions around them. We tend not to take good actions around those things. So we see something in the news, we give it meaning, and it makes us angry or upset, and we go on social media and complain to all of our followers. You haven't actually made anything better.
No.
You haven't actually improved everything. You haven't taken the right action. If the thing really upsets you so much, you should be taking an action that can actually make a difference towards it.
Yeah.
Right? So we have had this consistently on our business with, and this was the message that you sent me yesterday on Instagram about correction is not criticism.
Yeah.
So let's give an example. This was pretty interesting. I can't wait to see what more unfolds with Doge and Elon and what they're doing in the federal government, right? So Elon gets into the Social Security Administration, starts getting access to all this information. People are freaking out, not realizing, it's Elon Musk. He has so much data on us because Tesla is a data company. It learns all of our driving habits and everywhere that we go, and they're gathering all that information.
Yeah.
The dude owned PayPal. Right?
Yeah.
If he wanted to steal our identity, he could easily do it. But he's getting in and he's shining a spotlight on things that may not be what most Americans think they should be, right? There's overspending in the Social Security Administration. It may be a lot, it may be a little. Somebody's like, well, it's 1%. And it's like, okay, but that's still trillions with a T, right?
Yeah.
So he gets in, he gets access to the information. And what does the director of the Social Security Administration do? She quit.
Oh.
She resigned.
Whoa.
And it's happened in several of these organizations where they don't believe he should have access to it, so they walk out the door, right? It could be because they're frustrated, and this is such a new and scary thing. And no offense to government employees, actually offense to government employees, they're not used to that.
Yeah.
The other part of it is, though, she knows she's going to be held accountable in a way that she has never been held accountable before. And some people will curl up in a ball or they'll run away and they'll hide because they can't stand to have that spotlight shown on them.
Yep.
But the real achievers will step up and say, you know what, maybe there is a problem and I'm looking forward to fixing it. Or I'm so confident in what we've done in the organization that I've been running that I can defend what we've done and people will listen to me and smart people will understand it, right? But instead of engaging in that battle, instead of having a backbone, you walk out the door, you give up, you quit. Are you kidding me?
You sink.
So we have this with our own employees, right?
Yep.
I frequently need to challenge our employees.
Yes.
I believe that's one of my roles as a leader.
Yes.
And the same thing happens to the director of the Social Security Administration. Sometimes people implode. They curl up in the fetal position, they quit, they give up, they can't stand to have that light shown on them.
Yep.
Because they're giving it meaning. If I say, Ashley, you're bombing right now with sales calls, or we don't have the leads that we need, or this client was upset and you had the opportunity to fix it and you made them even more angry. I don't think that's ever happened.
It hasn't.
Okay. But when it does, I'll be knocking on your door.
I know.
So let's think about the meaning that you're giving that when your boss criticizes you, when you perceive it as criticism. Are they doing it to show you what a loser you are? Are they doing it to make you feel bad or inadequate or to demonstrate how clueless you are? Or are they doing it as a coach?
Yep.
Are they doing it out of love?
Yep.
Can you imagine if you get criticized for something and instead of giving it the meaning that you're a loser and you're not good enough, you give it the meaning that this person cares so much about me that they're willing to sacrifice being liked in order to make me better?
Yep.
Oh man, I didn't even write whatever I just said. I didn't write down, but I'm going back to the recording on that, right? And this was the message that you sent me yesterday. It was about coaches, right?
Yep.
And there was this that you sent me an Instagram thing, and it was like this story about this guy plays for a great high school coach, and he was asked how he constantly handled the coach yelling at him, right? But the story says he wasn't yelling at me. He was holding me to a higher expectation because he knew my goals. We live in a generation where if a coach yells at you, you take it personally and want to quit. Most of the time, a coach is yelling at you because they see something in you that you don't even see yet. To this day, I'm so grateful I was pushed and coached the way I was. Be worried when your coach stops talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That was so good. And it aligned perfectly with what we were putting together for this show.
And it's because you do you do this a lot. I appreciate it. I always say if Adam stops talking to me, if Jaggy stops, if they are not at some point yelling in the way that coaching way though, right? Like then I need to worry. That's what, like, not a lot of people are like, oh,
it's because
my boss was quiet.
We've realized that you've given up on yourself,
Yes.
and we can only invest so much in you. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't think that you can get better and you don't have a burning desire to improve, I have to invest my efforts into someone who's willing to do it. And I'm willing to give you a shot. You know that we hold on to some employees way too long because we keep investing, we keep trying, and we hold such strong belief, and we have such hope for them. And we try to give that to themselves.
Yep.
And some people just aren't willing to accept it.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's not, and I will say, because people get in their head in the moment of it, right? And you're like, oh, man, I don't think I deserve that. But if you can take that thought out and sit there for a minute about what was actually being said and what was happening, you quickly realize, and this happens to me a lot, like, I see it, I see what I did wrong, or I see where I need to improve. I get the message, and you have to take your emotion out of it and actually think about the lesson that's being taught to you.
Yeah, you have to give it different meaning.
Yeah,
this was one of the challenges when I was a lawyer, is people wanted to substitute legal work for good management, right? So they would put these contracts in place with their employees and these last chance agreements, and they're either building a case to fire the person, or they're trying to protect themselves from some horrible downside, but they were doing it out of caution, as opposed to, hey, what if you focused on just being a better boss and focused on being a better leader? Now, that doesn't mean you don't need contracts and you shouldn't have that stuff in place, but it's not a substitute for being a good leader. And this is where I wanted to talk about fear a little bit, because you've got your focus, you've got the meaning that you give things, and so many people give things meaning based on fear.
Yeah.
They're basing it on, I got critical feedback from my boss, that must mean I'm going to get fired.
Yes. Yep.
And I can tell you, your boss doesn't want to fire you. Your boss wants you to be successful. Your boss wants you to improve. Yep. Unless you're a huge jerk, but hey, you can change. You can change. You can change. I believe in it. So that fear. This was a good quote I found from Earl Nightingale, who's one of the early pioneers of self-improvement. Most of the things we worry endlessly about never occur except in our own negative imaginations. All that fear, all the things that you're worried about. So as an employee, if you're worried about getting fired, you can live in that fear and you can worry about that thing that may or may not happen, or you can face it head on and you can remove that negative meaning and you can learn from the opportunity and you can change your focus and you can change your reaction to it, or you can change the meaning that you give it. As a business owner, it's the same thing. If you're focused on the fear, if you're focused on the lack, if you check your bank account balance every day and there just isn't enough there, maybe you could look at it and say, well, there's plenty of room to add more money to that account, right? There's plenty of space there. And I think particularly with business owners where we worry so much about losing money and what's going to happen, here's a change of paradigm for you. The money is always replaceable. Yeah. Every penny that you've lost, you can get back. So, I've been studying the circus recently. Yes.
Which I laughed and then you explained it to me.
You should see, I went bonkers at this auction this weekend.
Oh, you went to the...
It was online.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I have to, when we're going to Florida in a couple weeks, I have to pick up my stuff in Sarasota because that's where the circus museum is. But P.T. Barnum, we've been talking about him, right? He's been dead for, I don't know, 50, 100 years, but you know his name. He went bankrupt. Walt Disney, there's a show out on Hulu right now. I think it's like how Walt Disney built America or something. I'm only about 20 minutes into it, but Walt Disney filed bankruptcy, right? But you know who he is. Henry Ford, he's a bankruptcy alumni. Oh. Conrad Hilton Hotels, he filed bankruptcy. J.C. Penney, Sam Walton, H.J. Heinz, Frank Lloyd Wright. These are all names that you know.
Yeah.
And they're people that lost everything and got it back tenfold. Do you think they operated out of fear?
No.
No, they gave things the right meaning to be successful, not the negative meaning, not the meaning that I'm a loser and I'm inadequate and I'm never going to make this work. They gave it the meaning of, all right, it is what it is. I learned from it. Let's go do better next time. And you've seen this in our business, right? We've tried things that haven't worked, and then we go and do it again, and we get better at it. And lessons big and small, right?
And like you said, and even not the most enthusiastic way, every time it's just been with maximum effort.
Maximum effort. So, all right, that's a great segue into step 3. So step 1 is understand what you're focusing on. Step 2 is be very mindful of the meaning that you're giving it. And step 3 is decide what actions to take and take them. And here's where the meaning throws this all off, is if you've given something an emotional meaning, you're not going to take the right actions.
So these have to line up in, you got to be real honest about all of these.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the cool thing about deciding what actions to take and taking them. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Mm-hmm. It's about stepping back up to the plate and swinging again. Maybe changing your approach, maybe changing your swing a little bit.
Yep.
Not doing the same swing over and over and over, not bunting at every at bat, which so many people want to do because it's safe. So deciding what actions to take and going and taking them. I got 3 skills that'll make you better at this. This is why you needed your notebook today. Because not only have I outlined the 3 steps to becoming a successful person, but now I'm giving you 3 steps to making better decisions and taking better action.
It's in here. It's like my math lesson. I
know
gotta be engaged.
But that's the point, is you're listening.
Yes.
And then you're going to go and listen again and write this out. And then you're going to go and do it. And you're going to get better at it. And I hope our listeners do the same thing. You may or may not have your notebook in front of you right now. But guess what? You got the recording available. Mm-hmm. It's going to be up on Spotify in a couple of days. It's going to be up on iTunes in a couple of days. It's going to be on YouTube and Facebook until they ban me. So crucial skill number 1 in making better decisions and taking better actions is an ability to learn. But let me take that one step farther. It's the ability to recognize patterns. Okay? So Penny's taking piano lessons right now. She's 7 years old. She's got a piano teacher. She's not going in with his teacher and writing her own songs. Right? She does that at home. She writes some good songs about me and our dogs. But she's sitting down with his teacher and she's learning other people's songs. She's learning patterns. What notes do you play in sequence? What keys do you hit to make a chord? The same's true in business. If you study successful people, just like Penny studies other musicians, you will start to see how they recognize patterns and the patterns that they've created. Okay? The next step, after you start to recognize patterns, and so many people are so bad at this, right? We live in Erie, Pennsylvania. There's a lake, like, I don't know, a couple thousand feet that way. That lake is a snow-making machine because the weather patterns come over the lake and they suck up all the water, and then it goes a couple miles that way and it dumps it all on the city, right? And the lake is 90% frozen over right now, but we still had lake effect snow over the weekend. And this is probably, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th or 5th lake effect snow dumping that has occurred on Erie, Pennsylvania this year. And still, every time it happens, you go in the Facebook groups of people and saying, I need somebody to plow my driveway. I need somebody to shovel my sidewalk. I need someone to put salt down. And it's very reactive. This happens almost every winter. Almost every winter. And you know who's really successful right now? The people who recognize those patterns and say, you know what, I better make sure my truck's running and my plow works and I got all the fluids checked and it's in good order and I got my salt bin filled up so that when the snow comes, I can be out there ready to attack this thing. I can't tell you how much money I've paid my plow guy. It's absurd. I could hire a full-time employee because our driveway's a little excessive. I don't begrudge him. He knows the patterns. He knows that this happens. Now, there were a couple slow winters in there, and those were better for me and worse for him. But so you start to recognize those patterns. The next step is you anticipate those patterns. And this is what I'm talking about. Unsuccessful people react to patterns. They don't learn them, so they become victims. They lose consistently. Successful people anticipate the patterns. They are acting upon the world. The world is not acting upon them. And by doing this, by anticipating the patterns, you actually start to get better at recognizing them as well. And that's the thing, is you may not get it right the first time or even the 10th time, but by building that experience and doing the thing or trying to do the thing, you build that expertise.
Yep.
So you've heard me talk a lot about in our business how, I mean, we were just, actually, I guess the ranking came out last week.
Yep.
What were we, number 24?
24.
Yeah, so the Law Firm 500 list came out, fastest growing law firms in the country. We were number 24.
Yeah.
This is the 4th year out of 5 we made the list. I forgot
'Cause
to
you
apply
forgot
last year.
Yeah.
It's also the highest we've ever ranked.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only are we growing, but we're now growing at a faster rate on top of the success that we've already had.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I hate it when people say, oh, the first million is the hardest. Well, if you do it the right way, the first million is the hardest, right? It actually becomes easier after that. And I've talked about with our employees and with our clients that our success and our growth is not based on me working harder.
Right.
It's not based on me being some mega genius. It's based on me getting better at making decisions.
Yeah.
And I make better decisions because I recognize patterns and I anticipate patterns and I go and decide.
Yes.
And then I go and do it again and again and again. And I do it at a faster rate than most people are willing to do it.
Yeah.
They want to make a decision and let it marinate and see how bad things can really get. And then they have to sit, you know, under their blankets and cry about the results for a month and a half before they decide that they're going to get out of bed and try it again. Okay, that was Monday. I'm out the door Tuesday, ready to go again, right?
When do you know when to make that switch? What do you have to do to know when, like, hey, I got to make a different decision here. This isn't working.
Well, that's a really good question. And I don't even know if we have enough time to get into it today, but you decide up front what success looks like.
Okay.
Right? You get clear in the beginning what you want the outcome to be. And then you make the decision and you see if that decision is, you may not reach the outcome immediately,
right?
But is it getting closer or is it getting you farther away? Okay. Right? Most people aren't clear up front. They say, I got to hire a person because I'm so busy. You're hired. Come on in. $15 an hour. Welcome to the team. But there was never anything established about how are you going to be profitable in this role? How are you going to make me more money? How are you going to bring me more sanity? How are you going to save me time? It's just, please, for the love of God, come in and help me. Well, so you're never going to know if that decision was successful because you weren't clear what you wanted out of the decision to begin with. But this is the process through which you get strong, right?
Yep.
I sign off every one of these shows with the line, I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not an empty belief. It's human nature. I believe in you because we as human beings thrive due to our innate ability to recognize patterns and anticipate them and act upon it. Okay? So did you know, this was before we were alive, humans were so focused on survival, right? Mm-hmm. The next meal, where they were going to sleep that night. Yet somehow we've transitioned into a society that builds towns and cities and nations. We're not focused on survival anymore.
Right.
How did we do that? By recognizing one pattern. Do you know what it is?
I don't.
I'll give you a hint. I was talking about seeds at the beginning of this show.
Farming?
Seasons.
We
recognize seasons. Don't plant your seeds in the winter.
Yeah.
We learned how to farm. We learned how to create our own food. You plant in the spring and you water and weed in the summer and you harvest in the fall.
Yeah.
And then you relax over the winter, or you prepare for the next year.
Yeah.
And hopefully the winter's short and hopefully not too long. But that's it. That pattern recognition that have put human beings in the position that they're in, where we're not so worried about survival anymore, is all based on pattern recognition of when you plant and when you reap and when you sow.
Yes.
So that's why I believe in you, because I think you as a human being can go and recognize those patterns and anticipate them and act upon it.
Like that.
You should have brought your notebook. You're thinking hard over there.
I am. I'm like, there's
steam coming
I'm
out
going
of your
to be
I wish I had worn.
And
So it's 7 degrees outside, and I wear this giant sweater. I knew I was going to be sweating today. I should have dressed better for this. All right. Step 3.
Okay.
Massive action. You aren't taking enough action. And so you maybe start to recognize patterns. You maybe start to anticipate patterns, but you aren't doing enough about it. You aren't acting fast enough. You aren't thinking big enough. You aren't really going after it. And in fact, part of the reason is you're focused, back to the beginning, you're focused on the wrong things. You're focused on your busyness. You're focused on how much time you don't have. You're focused on how much money you don't have, as opposed to focusing on what's going to get you the results.
Yeah. What do I have, right? As opposed to what I'm lacking.
Yes. And let's go back to habits on this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about hard-earned money. You're familiar with the phrase? Mm-hmm. Did you grow up hearing that phrase?
Yes, I did.
We all did.
Yeah.
You know what I like? Easy-earned money. But what do you think about when I say that?
That it's not real.
It's
Can't
not
happen.
real. I'm lazy. I'm cheating
Yeah.
people. No, I can tell you the most money I've ever made is when I worked the least. It doesn't, when I go to the bank and make a deposit, they don't say, well, Mr. Williams, is this the hard-earned money or is this the easy-earned money, right?
Very true.
But it's ingrained in us that it
Yeah.
has to be hard and it has to be
hard.
difficult. And if you're not hustling and grinding, you didn't really earn it. Mm-hmm. And that's completely wrong. If you change that, if you change the meaning that you're giving to what it takes to make money, it can become easier and you can attract it as opposed to going out and fighting for it. That's such a huge paradigm shift for people. And a bunch of people are going to hear that and they're not even going to believe it. But we're back to recognize your habits, recognize your paradigms, recognize the way that you think about things. Put your wallet in your left pocket and understand that money doesn't have to be hard-earned. Money doesn't grow on trees? Well, I don't know. If I have an orchard and I grow apples and I sell those apples, guess what I have?
Money.
Yeah. Right? Oh, man. I knew I was going to be
That was
fired
good.
up.
Yeah. I like that. That was.
So I think it's important to focus on the outputs, not just focus on your production, not just your busyness, right? Pay attention to your focus, monitor the meaning that you give to things, and take action. And take action based on pattern recognition and anticipating patterns, and then going out and taking massive action and executing on it. And then learn from those actions that you take.
Yeah.
Learn more patterns. Anticipate more patterns. So thank you for doing like a 3-page outline for this show that we didn't even get into.
No, there were. I get it. You just made it sound a lot better.
All right. So what else? We got a couple minutes left. Is there anything else that you wanted to make sure that we covered today? I don't know if you wanted to talk about transitions or pivoting or.
Well, I think, and we talked about that, is because a lot of people, I think they get stuck in that part of where do I pivot, where do I quit, and where do I keep just going, and how to know when to make. It's how to know when to make those decisions. What do you?
It's all about getting really clear on the desired outcome. What do you want and why do you want it? Yeah, and get married to that outcome. Don't get married to the process.
Okay.
Right. I may find that cardio does not help me achieve my fitness goals, and I can get on the bike every single day, or I can get on the treadmill or whatever. But maybe I need to be doing strength training. All right, well, if I want to be in the shape that I want to be in, I'm not going to get married to doing the cardio. I'm going to get married to doing the strength training and seeing how that works. Or maybe it's a combination of both, or maybe it's more high intensity training or whatever it is. But there's a process that you're following and then an outcome that you want. Analyze the process in an unbiased way, in a non-emotional way, and really look at whether it's getting you to where you want to be. And problem number one is people don't spend any time thinking about where they actually want to be. It's like hiring the employee without knowing how they're actually going to be profitable in the role. I'm just going to do what I think I need to do because of my habits, because of my paradigms, because of the way that I'm raised. But if you can really step back and think about what you actually want and why you want it, and sometimes it's just because I want it, right? So I got the Buzz, I got the Volkswagen Buzz, right? The range is horrible. It's overpriced. And there's all these negative comments on the internet about what an irrational vehicle it is. It's totally irrational. Yeah. It's totally emotional for me. I love driving it.
Yeah.
I love the smiles on people's faces. It's not about the range. It's not about the massaging seats, which are great. It's not about the giant sunroof. It's not about the facts and statistics and figures. It's about how it makes me feel. And I wanted the thing just because I wanted the thing.
Yeah.
And that's true for employees, and that's true for the business that I want to have, and it's true for everything that I do. So I think that's the key here, right? Understand your habits, understand the meaning that you're giving things, and take the appropriate action. Yeah. Start small. Don't go disrupt your entire life. But if you can leave this episode just by thinking through those things, you'll be a more successful person. And I believe in you.